Hello, coaches! Welcome back to another episode of Coach Better Spotlight. In today's episode, CLINT and I are chatting with Lynn Sawyer, experienced cognitive coach and international education consultant. In this Spotlight episode, we're sharing the specific steps that all educators, including coaches, can take to build the skills needed to be a successful cognitive coach. When you're just starting out as a coach, sometimes the language and fluidity of a coaching conversation is challenging. Lynn shares specific ways that coaches can practice these critical skills to build their own coaching fluency. In the full audio podcast, we dig deeper into the history and evolution of cognitive coaching, as well as explore tons of different strategies that makes cognitive coaching so successful. If you're an instructional coach looking for practical strategies to help mediate teachers' thinking, this is the episode for you. If you enjoy any part of this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more conversations like this, please subscribe to our channel and click the notifications bell to find out every time we release a new episode. Remember, you can also listen to the full Coach Better episode wherever you get your podcasts. We are passionate about the impact coaching can have on student learning, school culture, and teacher professional growth, and we want to help you coach better. We've got some great opportunities for more learning after today's conversation, so stick around all the way to the end. All right, welcome back to another episode of Coach Better. Today, CLINT and I are very excited to chat with Lynn Sawyer. I actually met Lynn a few weeks ago when I was doing some consulting work in Singapore, and we shared a taxi to the school, and I heard all about her amazing background working with cognitive coaching and adaptive schools, and thought she would be a perfect person for us to talk a little bit deeper about cognitive coaching and the ways that she works with a variety of schools all around the world in her extensive education experience. So Lynn, thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Yay. And can you tell us a little bit more detail about your education background, just so we get a pulse of what you've been doing and can kind of talk to you about all that amazing work you've done?
Sure. Way back before you were even born, I had a wonderful experience as a teacher in an alternative high school. It was my first teaching job. And the principal there had met a guy named Art Costa, who is one of the co-creators of cognitive coaching, because the principal had been a principal in Sawyer, Africa, at an international school, and Art had gone there to do some instruction about thinking skills with the staff there. So my principal remembered when he came back to the U.S. all about Art Costa and brought him to work with our faculty.
Cool.
And the idea was to work with our students on these thinking skills, on expanding their intellectual capacities, because alternative high school kids tend to not be great students, and they've never really learned how to be learners. So Art Costa came along and worked with us, and as we began to implement the things he was teaching us, we were telling him how different we were thinking about our teaching based on what he was teaching us about intervening with students. And he had a bit of an epiphany, and that was a long, long time ago, my dear. And he collaborated with Bob Gormston. They shared an office, and they began to realize that there was a way to coach teachers that was different from the typical supervisory type of interactions. Not that those were bad, but that they thought it could be extended to help teachers become really more self-directed. So I worked at the alternative school, worked in a big school district in Reno, Nevada, which has about 65,000 students, and eventually was the director of professional development. I did that for 20 years, and we were hiring about 450 teachers a year. So we'd had a lot of things going on with mentoring and coaching. And so all of these things that ended up being called cognitive coaching were the principles and strategies that we were using. It was like a think tank of how do you really help teachers to grow by not telling them what to do.
So cool. I just think it's
so
amazing to hear the origins of where that all came from. Wow.
Yeah. So, and it's we've passed the 35th anniversary of cognitive coaching. So it has been sustained. And there's some things about it that have made it sustainable.
Tell us about that, because I know that's something we want to talk about. What are those elements of cognitive coaching that make it so successful and sustainable?
So I think about your work, Kim, and the fact that you go and work with teachers on, or educators, let's say, because it's not just teachers, on the things that you are wanting them to learn. And all of us who do that kind of work want our work to not just be one and done. And I like to use 3 words. We like whatever it is we're doing to be transformational, that it really, truly makes a difference in the way the humans operate with each other and how they think about their work and how they interact with students. Second one is it's scalable. So it's not just a little pocket where this works, but it can be scaled across the organization so that everyone has an opportunity to benefit from whatever we're teaching. And I know that even though you work with just a certain group of people concentrating on certain things, think about that the scalability of it is what gives it that traction. And then the third one is sustainable. So that whatever these sets of skills are, or tenets or beliefs and values, have sticking power beyond the changes in leadership, the changes in the conditions of the world, finances, all those kind of things that bear on to educational organizations. So when we think about cognitive coaching, it built on the idea. I'm going to just tell you what we say is the mission of cognitive coaching, because I just love it. It's helping people become self-directed persons with cognitive capacity for excellence, both independently and as members of a community. Isn't that great? I mean, it's got so much power in it. And that has sustained we in the cognitive coaching community, of course, really adhere to that mission, and it drives all of the things that we do and pay attention to. Early on, when Art Costa and Bob Garmston were creating cognitive coaching, they were acknowledging that teaching is such a complex intellectual activity. And that seems like, well, duh. But so many things that have come and gone in our field have not honored the complexity of teaching, and that every operation and behavior that a teacher might use has a cognitive process behind it. So the idea of cognitive coaching, it is not a behavioral model at all. It's rather coaching the thinking of a person. So as an example, Kim, you have a set of things that you go around the world and teach. And we're lucky when we have our, I would call it our shtick, kind of figured out. We got our slides ready. We know what we're doing. But we don't want it to just be this turnkey thing. So if I were your coach and I'm supporting you in always seeing your work as fresh, some of the questions I might ask you, I wouldn't say, well, what are your objectives? I would say things like, as you think about this new group of people that you'll be working with, and what you know about their particular situation, their locale, and their student body, what are some things that influence what teaching decisions you make right at the opening of a workshop? So hear that complexity in the question.
Mm-hmm.
And I might say, what are the things that, given what you know about your group, might present themselves as challenges or obstacles? Now, you might not have even thought about that. But what's cool about cognitive coaching questions is we say they're questions with legs because they take you somewhere. And it's not that you even have to, I'm not the one that needs the answer. You know, if you had a particular group that had some challenging people in it, I know that's never happened to you. But, you know, once in a while, people are in our workshops and they weren't necessarily volunteers to be there. So I might say, considering that there might be some people who are not happy to be in your workshop, what are some of the things that you do to win their, I guess, emotion about being there? What are some of the things that you think about doing to get people on board? And see, all of those things are the complex behaviors that go on in your head, because really the cognitive processes of instruction are really what happens inside the head of a teacher before, prior to, during, and after teaching. The whole thing is very cognitive. So our idea of cognitive coaching is to help teachers become more self-directed, and so they don't need us, so that people can kind of play a little bit of a routine inside their own heads, you know, as they're driving home from school, saying, what are some of the things that I was particularly satisfied about today? When that happened during the lesson, if I were to step up the balcony and look down on what happened, what kind of observations was I making, and what connections was I making inside my head, and then what decisions did I make after I made those connections?
Did you enjoy today's episode? Then you will love the Coach Microcredential program. We know because our current participants are always sharing their feedback with us, and we ask them to share their experiences with you. Each week, we'll be sharing a new voice from inside the cohort of the coach, so you can get a participant's perspective on what will make the program just right for you.
If you are in one of those transitionary phases in your career, or you are a teacher and you're just kind of looking to develop your practice, or if you're a coach who is new to that position, or just trying to develop yourself as a professional, this is a wonderful course to take because you can tailor it to fit your needs, your role within your school. I love this small cohort size. One of my greatest takeaways is the feeling that we're not alone. I think often in these positions, especially if you're an international educator, you're often the only one who does this role within your school. And it's really nice to know that there are lots of others out there who are going through the same thing. I really like how the program can be tailored to fit your need. And I really see that the biggest priority on Eduro Learning's end is to maximize what we get out of the course. So if it's not necessarily relevant at this time where you are, well, then let's change it so that it can work for you. It's a wonderful program. If I were to give any piece of advice or message to future cohort members, it is to take the course. If you are on the fence, please take it.
This is just one of the voices from our current The Coach cohort. Here's what a few others have to say.
So I'd highly recommend it. I would definitely suggest you try and join to really help you develop your professional coaching skills.
So I highly recommend it.
So do it.
I'd really advise anyone interested in taking the coach to take the plunge and go for it.
So I say go for it. Definitely take the coach. I couldn't recommend it more.
But overall, this course is fantastic because it's made me feel awesome. It's made me feel excited for my future.
As you can see, this micro-credential is for all educators, not just coaches, because you develop the coaching skills you can use in all aspects of your practice. You don't have to be a coach to have a coaching conversation with a student, a fellow colleague, a school leader, or even a parent. When you're ready to learn more about the coach, click on the link below or reach out to us at Eduro Learning on any of our social media platforms. Registration for our next cohort opens soon. Don't miss it. Expand your professional learning network, dive deep into 26 weeks of curated coaching content, and get your own private mentor for an entire academic year. We can't wait to work with you. Are you ready to take your coaching skills to the next level? Join the next cohort of The Coach and make it happen.